Sometimes on your spreadsheet, you want just certain kind of data in certain cells. You want it spelled correctly or you want it formatted just right. And that's where data validation comes in. So if you look at the spreadsheet we have right here, notice we have column C is date. And so if I double click in C5, a little calendar comes up and I can choose a date. And then here on D5, I have 3 words I can choose from. And then here on E5, I have several words I can choose from. But these are the exact things that's going to be filled in to these certain cells because we've validated the data. So let's learn how to do that, okay? First, let's just highlight it all and delete it all so we can start from scratch. I'm going to erase all the data validation here real fast, so give me just a second as I do this. We're going to remove that validation. Same thing right here, I'm going to remove it. Give me just a second, I'm almost there. And one more to remove, and then we can show you how this is all done. Okay, now we have a nice clean slate. Now, we're imagining that for our students, we're going to have some meetings set up. And we're scheduling these meetings, and we need to figure out what our main focus of the meetings are going to be. But we also want to know what period these students meet for us in class, okay? So we have the date the meeting will be, the focus of the meeting, and the period in which they meet with us for class, okay? We're going to validate all these right now. First, we're going to put our cursor in cell C2. We're going to hold down our left mouse or our left trackpad key. We're going to drag it down to C11 and let go so that all those cells are now highlighted in blue. Then we're going to go to our drop-down menu that says Data. We're going to choose Data Validation. Now this particular column was titled Date, so we want this to be just the date. We already have the cell range because we've already highlighted that. And here where it says Criteria, we wanted to say Date. That's all there is to it. It has to be a valid date, and we're going to save it. And now, when we double click here, we see the calendar shows up. We can choose whatever date we need to as we schedule these students, just that easy. It's going to be only dates, and all the dates are going to be formatted exactly the same, just like that. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Next, the focus. Again, let's highlight all these cells in the focus column. Go to Data, Data Validation, and this time, instead of a list from a range or date, we're going to do a list of items, okay? And right here, we can actually list the items that are going to be the topics for our meetings. So let's make the first one academics. And then we put a comma in between each different thing we want presented as a possible entry for this cell. So next will be behavior. B-H-A-V-I-O-R, okay. And next will be other. So we have academics, behavior, and other. That's our list of items right there, each item being separated by a comma. We're again going to choose save. And now you see these little drop-down arrows in this column. And as we choose one, we get those 3 things that we just made on that list. And we can choose what our focus is going to be just by selecting those from the drop-down menu. And that's just pretty cool. And that way we know that if we're going to do any sorting or filtering by the focus column, the behavior is going to be spelled exactly the same way every time. No one's going to misspell it because it is in the data validation that we set up, okay? And same with academics, same with other. Now for the period. We're going to do the period differently. We don't have to, but we're going to because I want to show you different ways to do data validation. So again, we're going to highlight these cells because those are the cells that we want validated as far as data. We're going to, again, go to the drop-down menu, Data, and choose Data Validation. Only this time we're going to do a list from a range. And so that means that we have a range of cells on a spreadsheet somewhere that is going to be the items that make up the drop-down menu on the cells that are on this column. Okay? So here we get to choose the range or formula that we are using as that list. So click on it. I've already pre-done a list, and it's over here on a whole different spreadsheet, sheet 4, and there's the list, and it's period 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So by selecting these cells that have that data in it and choosing OK, and then choosing Save, when we go back to the sheet we're working on, notice again we have drop-down menus, and when we choose those drop-down menu items, we have all these periods that was on that other sheet that we just set up. And so that's 3 different ways of setting up data validation. There are other ways and there are other kinds of data you can set up, but that kind of gives you an idea of when you want your data to be just exactly a certain way, a certain thing, formatted a certain way, you could use data validation. A very cool feature in Google Sheets. See you next time.